Have you ever woken up with an ache in your chest that you can't quite name? The kind that whispers you might never outrun the weight pressing on your dreams? Maybe there is a goal you've nurtured for years, a business idea scribbled on coffee-stained napkins, a novel trapped in your head, a degree you keep postponing, yet every time you reach for it, a fresh wall rises where you expected a door. We tell ourselves stories about timing, talent, and luck, and in those stories, fate always has the louder voice. Imagine for a moment that your life is a vast mountain range. From the valley, the peaks look sharp and impossible, but climbers know a secret. The summit is only reachable because of ridges and cracks. The very features that appear to block your ascent become the footholds that lift you higher. The journey you are about to take is not an escape from hardship. It is an apprenticeship with it. Hardship is a ruthless teacher, yet it grants diplomas no university can match. Resilience, creativity, and insight carved into bone. The first shift happens in silence. You catch the instant you label a setback as failure. Language is architecture for thought, and the words we choose build the rooms in which our hopes either suffocate or flourish. When something breaks, ask yourself what really shattered. Is it your credibility or merely your expectations? An artist spinning clay doesn't weep when the pot collapses. She kneads the damp earth again and discovers a new shape. You too can decide that broken pieces are raw material. The decision alone begins rebuilding. Self-belief is not an accidental gift bestowed on a chosen few. It is a muscle. Like any muscle, it grows through micro-tears and rest. You try, you stumble, you learn, you try again. Each repetition rewires the nervous system of your identity. The first time you lift a weight, it trembles, yet day by day the shaking subsides. Confidence works the same way. Begin with the smallest burden you can manage. Finish one push-up, one paragraph, one cold call. Bank the victory. The ledger of your accomplishments, no matter how tiny, will balloon into evidence that you are capable. Resilience is the ember that refuses to die when the wind howls. It is built in the aftermath, when adrenaline fades and only character remains to mop up the mess. Think of famous comebacks, athletes who tear ligaments and stand on podiums a season later, innovators whose prototypes explode on camera before they patent world-changing designs, parents who lose jobs and still set breakfast on the table with a smile. Their secret is not immunity to pain, but intimacy with it. They ask better questions. What did this teach me? How do I adapt? Positivity, contrary to popular belief, is not the absence of negative experience, but the decision to curate your inputs. Guard your mental diet with the same vigilance you reserve for your physical one. If your screen is a buffet of pessimism, close the tab and open a book that stretches possibility. If your circle drains you, expand it until you find mentors who electrify your aspirations. Voices matter. They are maps. Follow the wrong map and you wander in circles. Follow the right one and even detours become scenic routes. Acceptance sounds passive, yet it requires ferocious honesty. Until you acknowledge a detour, you can't choose a new route. Picture a sailor ripping the ruined mast from a storm-torn deck. The acceptance of wreckage is the first move in rebuilding a vessel capable of crossing oceans again. You can rage at the waves, but rage alone never steered a ship. Decisions do. And decisions begin whenever you say, "This happened. Now what?" Analysis turns pain into data. Sit with your setback like a detective at a crime scene. Fingerprint the variables, skill gaps, resource shortages, timing errors. Was the market not ready, or were you not? Did you practice enough, or accept the compliment of mediocrity because it arrived cheaply? Data doesn't judge, it illuminates. Once you spot the patterns, you can edit them. Growth is an editorial process. Life hands you drafts, you rewrite. Intention is the engineer of momentum. Vague goals drift like fog. Intentional goals drive like trains on tracks. Break ambition into coordinates your calendar understands. Send 5 resumes today, write 200 words before bed, invest $15 every Friday. Momentum is a physics phenomenon. Objects in motion stay in motion. Tiny actions gather mass until they avalanche. Every turnaround story contains a moment of quiet decision. The protagonist chooses not to surrender dignity to despair. History is full of such pivots. Nelson Mandela wrote freedom inside a prison cell. Frida Kahlo painted masterpieces while pain laced her spine. These names are not presented for worship, but for evidence. Evidence that human beings possess an interior wilderness where possibility prowls, untamed by circumstance. You share that ancestry. Clarity is the scalpel that carves chaos into solvable chunks. Define the barrier until its mystery bleeds out. Say the fear aloud. Fear shrinks when exposed to daylight. A problem named is a problem outlined, and outlines beg solutions. Strategy then marches in, clipboard in hand. Inventory your assets, knowledge, contacts, technology, stamina. Identify your gaps and draft bridges. The plan doesn't need to sparkle, it needs to function. Yet plans are breakable. That is why adaptability is the hinge on which success swings. Hold the vision, not the method. Farmers adjust when weather deceives them. They plant different seeds or dig irrigation trenches. You too can pivot without abandoning the harvest. If step 3 fails, invent step 3.1. The map is not the territory. Redraw it as often as the terrain demands. Motivation is fickle. It flares. It flickers. Discipline, however, is a steady flame fed by ritual. Return to your why every dawn. Tape it to your mirror. Chant it if you must. The mind drifts like a balloon. Tie it to purpose. Break the colossal mission into daily inches and celebrate progress with childlike glee. Celebration is fuel. It reminds the brain that effort results in reward, encouraging repetition. Sometimes the environment itself saps resolve. If your workspace feels like a damp basement of discouragement, rearrange the furniture, light a candle, open a window. Place a plant on your desk, and notice how life insists on growth given minimal sunlight and water. Let the plant become a metaphor, rooted yet reaching. When exhaustion whispers seductive promises of quitting, remember that rest and retreat are different verbs. Rest rejuvenates soldiers. Retreat abandons battlefields. Schedule rest like meetings. Protect your sleep. Hydrate. Walk under the open sky. A depleted warrior wields a dull sword. Barriers often masquerade as external when they are internal scripts playing on loop. I'm too old, too inexperienced, too late. Replace the soundtrack. Instead of too old, say rich with perspective. Instead of too late, say right on time for the version of me that exists now. Language again. Your ever-present construction site. Seek allies. Lone wolves starve. Packs thrive. Mentors compress decades into dialogue. Peers mirror progress. Together you normalize ambition. Community is a laboratory where ideas mutate into discoveries faster than in isolation. Offer value before you request it. Collaboration is a currency. Spend generously. Persistence is glamorous only in hindsight. In real time, it feels like trudging through mud while the world scrolls highlight reels. Delete the comparison app. Your race is yours. Progress measured against another's milestone is counterfeit math. Your metric is yesterday's you. Mistakes will ambush you. Let them. A boxer learns by sparring, not by shadowboxing exclusively. Each misstep is feedback from reality's most rigorous coach. Adjust your stance, protect your chin, throw the next punch wiser. The ring rewards adaptation, not perfection. Patience partners with action. It refuses to confuse slow growth with no growth. Bamboo seeds spend years building unseen roots before shooting meters skyward in weeks. Your groundwork may be invisibly preparing foundations for sudden elevation. Trust the biology of effort. Fear and doubt rarely vanish. They mutate. Treat them as background noise rather than command signals. Observe them like clouds, present, shifting, incapable of stopping you from walking. Ask for evidence. Fear offers speculation, seldom proof. Challenge its thesis with experiment. Act. Observe outcome. Data will undercut the drama. Visualization is rehearsal for victory. Athletes close their eyes and feel the ribbon across the chest before the race. Carnegie Hall pianists hear applause before striking the first chord. Give your neurons that preview. The brain, unable to distinguish vividly imagined experience from real, will prime muscles and mind for execution. Perfectionism disguises procrastination in elegant clothing. It argues for more research, better timing, flawless drafts. Call its bluff. Publish the imperfect blog. Release the minimum viable product. Speak the foreign phrase with an accent. Iteration polishes. Stalling never sculpts. Your relationship with failure determines your altitude. Treat failure as terminal and gravity wins. Treat it as diagnostic and lift resumes. You are a scientist running experiments on the laboratory of life. Hypotheses will fail. That is the point. Each null result refines the equation. Close this page only to open a new one in your life's ledger and write it bold. Here is where momentum began. Your story is waiting for the ink of action. Start the next sentence now.